Ticket Machine is the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. No matter what you need a ticket for, border to border, coast to coast, the Ticket Machine is your ticket source. So whether you need to get into the hottest concerts, the best sporting events, you want the best seats in the house, or you just want to get in the door, when you want to go to any event that requires a ticket, anywhere, border to border, coast to coast, it's always theticketmachine.com. Theticketmachine.com, 517-655-3201. Check it out today at theticketmachine.com.
Welcome back to Spartan Nation. I am your benevolent dictator, Hondo Carpenter, joined now by the man, the legend, the way of life, legendary Michigan Prep football and basketball coach, the great coach Chuck Grenier. You can find him on our message board, talking on the phalanx, and so much more. Coach, how are you, brother?
I'm doing fine. How are you today, Hondo?
Good. Well, you're here today. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Actually, this year we've called it the good, the bad, and the undecided with Spartan football. After this week, we'll still keep you coming back for a weekly visit talking Spartan basketball. So let's do our last football until after the bowl game. We're looking at Rutgers, but really I want to look at the season as a whole, the good. I think the good, you got to sincerely talk about the wide receivers, the defense, and special teams. Your thoughts?
I agree totally. The punting game was, I think, as good as you can possibly get. In the punting game, we had no returns. We had him punting and dropping the ball off inside the 20 repeatedly. Field goal kicking after somewhat of a drought to start the season. He did a fine job there. Kickoff return was really fair to better than what it has been. Kickoff, no returns, but we did have some problem getting it in the end zone. Defense was superb, I thought, for coming back this year.
Coach, for you, there's so much to be excited about with the future of this program, isn't there?
I think so. It's a really young team, and we have some potential big-time stars at some very, very important positions. So, yeah, and I think the youth showed on many occasions during the course of the year, but I also see the room for improvement, and for 2018, it's looking really good.
Coach, your thoughts, what were the three best positive surprises for you?
I would have to say number one would be overall defense. Coming into this year, I thought we were going to struggle, especially in the defensive line, the defensive end, and positions, both of them, both field and boundary. And I also thought safeties were going to be a problem. And they really turned out to be pretty good. Pretty good as far as that goes. I thought the quarterback situation with a young receiving crew was going to be a problem. The receiving crew really stepped forward, and the quarterback at times showed flair, and he was going to be pretty good, and other times kind of on a treadmill, if you will, on that one, where he just kind of did not seem to improve at certain times. But the offensive line, I thought, was going to be okay, but they didn't get as stronger as the year went on as I had hoped.
Yeah, I think they're going to. I wrote the other day in a question and answer article that I put up at Spartan Nation, the best thing for that offensive line is going to be Ken Manny.
Yeah, I agree totally. You could see at times the strength wasn't there. A defensive lineman tries to beat you or at least get a stalemate, and they were able to get a lot of stalemates this year on our offensive line, which has to do some with play calling because we ran a lot of that pass run option, which they basically catch defensive linemen, which creates stalemates. And then also you saw that they had good footwork, fairly good technique, but they just did not have the strength to get pushed off the line of scrimmage. So I think Ken Maney, another year with those kids, and remember, they're all but Allen. Those kids are going to be around for 2 or 3 more years, all of them. And it's a work in progress, to say the least, but it looks like there's great potential there.
Coach, let's talk about the bad. Did anything stand out to you as truly bad? I didn't see one thing that I looked at and said, man, that's terrible.
I thought, if you want to call it bad, inconsistency on offense, I think that would be probably the only thing that, and you really even call that really too bad, but the inconsistency going from one ball game to another, particularly the running game. And then if you want to call it bad, you can. The inconsistency from the quarterback also. I know he's got a great arm. He has great potential, but the consistency wasn't there. And if you want to label that as a bad, you can.
Third thing. I'm sorry. Hang on just a second, Coach. I'm going to get to your third thing, but my whole thing is I was going to talk about the quarterback and the undecided. But go ahead. What's your third thing? Because I'm asking you your negatives, your bads. What was your third bad?
As good as the defense was, the lack of a pressure defensive end, I thought stood out for the course of the year. We had good consistency as far as controlling the line of scrimmage on run plays, but we were having difficulty getting to the quarterback with just 4 players. Pressure on the quarterback usually had to come with 5, maybe 6 players going to the pocket on that one. But if you want to call those bad, you can. I think those were the weaker parts. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you too on the pass rush. To me, the biggest negative was the pass rush. A dominant defensive end. I thought Kenny Willekes was good, but across from him, we got I think we did good with Jacob Panashuk, but from neither position we didn't get that consistent pass rush. All right, let's go to the undecided. I think you got to give Brian Lewerke credit. He did a lot of good things, but he also did a whole lot of bad, and I think he had a good season. I think especially as the season went on, they called a great game plan around him that tailored to him. But again, I don't know if you read the question and answer article I put up, but someone talked about, with Connor Cook and Kirk Cousins, we kind of knew after 4 or 5 games there's something special there. And with Brian, we're winning, but I don't know that you would call it special. So with Brian, I think there was good, I think there was bad, but I think we're really in the undecided range with him.
I think with the 2 games in a row where he went over 400 yards passing, and if you look back at the Northwestern game, the amount of long passes that he didn't connect with, that could have been just an outstanding, awesome game as far as yardage on that one. So there's that potential that he showed everybody, that he can really start throwing the ball around and can pile up some big yardage. His ability to run also helped him quite a bit. As far as this being the undecided, I thought maybe they kind of pulled the reins in him at the end of the year and didn't have him run quite as much anymore, which I think probably would have helped the run game a little bit more in the passing game. But he shows flashes, as I said before, but they got to get into his head, I think, over the course of the bowl practices and go into this bowl game using good technique, taking what's given, going through his progressions, things along that line, things that he needs to work on that I saw anyway, as I felt anyway. I think he's going to be, if he can do that work and be a player that every game becomes better and better, I think he can get to that level of Cook and Cousins and Hoyer and those that were there before him. But until that becomes a priority to him, I know we're not talking about basketball, but in the basketball, once these kids learn how to beat teams, that's going to be a different team at all, not just go out and play basketball. So that's kind of the way I think about with Lewerke. As soon as he figures out that he's going to go on the field, not to play football, but to be playing football and to beat teams, that's going to be a different step for him to take. And as far as that is the undecided part, I think that is the biggest variable with him going into the bowl practices, the bowl game, and then in winter work at spring game. So that's what I would have to say about Brian.
Coach, Messiah DeWeaver and Damian Terry were not options at quarterback this year. They're just not. They're not there. Rocky Lombardi, they decided they were going to redshirt him. Had I reported all year, had Brian gone down with an injury, and it was a long-term one, Rocky was the number 2. Would you like to see a full-fledged quarterback battle next year? Clearly, it's Brian's job. I'm not even implying there's a controversy, but I think it's good for everybody when there's competition. I wrote about that in my Q&A article. What do you think?
I think so too. Competition makes teams stronger. If you're out there like a Brian Lewis, just like we just talked about before, if he looks over his shoulder and sees this young man waiting to take his spot, that he's playing well, those things that I mentioned before about him improving on, they're going to be a little bit more important to him. And competition and depth on a football team makes teams better, makes players better for sure. And I would like to see. I think every year, of course, I think D'Antonio had said that in the past, that no one really has a job. They have to win that job all the time, even though we're looking at Lewerke as being the starting quarterback next year too. But it's that idea that if you don't produce, and that's what this is all about, producing. If you don't produce, next man up. And if Lombardi is that next man up and he's pushing Lewerke strong enough, and if Lewerke would go down, if he would run a bit more maybe and then maybe get hurt, we'd have somebody right there behind him that could come in and do the job. So, yeah, I think a good competition at quarterback at all 22 positions is vital to a winning season, a winning football team.
Coach, 2 quick questions, and we kind of have to hurry real quick. If Michigan State wins the bowl game, I expect them to come into the season next year rated in the top 10. If they lose, I expect them in the top 15. Agree or disagree?
Defense gets you wins, and Michigan State will have a solid defense next year. Yeah, I agree. That's the top 10.
A lot of people do not understand when you talk about Coach of the Year. You know this. I told you before the year. I said it on this show. I expected Wisconsin to go undefeated and then lose in the Big Ten championship game. Considering what expectations are, with all respect to Coach Chris at Wisconsin, because I think he did a very good job, regardless of what anyone says, that's Mark D'Antonio's award, right or wrong?
I would say so. I mean, when you have a team that goes 3-9 and has as many bumps in the road as they did over the course of the winter and spring, going into that with so many young players to depend on and to flip it and go 9-3, that job was just superior, I think.
Totally agree. He is the great coach, Chuck Grenier. He'll be back after the bowl game to talk more football, but he'll be back starting next week talking basketball, the good, the bad, and the undecided. Good, the bad, and the undecided.